Onrea Initiative, man, episode number 2. I appreciate everyone that checked out the first episode yesterday and gave me some good feedback. I appreciate you, man. Episode 2, man, I told you we're going to just keep it going and going, man. First of all, I want to say that, we just had the holidays. Today is December 29th. We just had the holidays in 2023. And, the holidays is a time that family get together and, it's a time of love and everybody, loving each other and enjoying each other and being thankful for the blessings that you have. But it's also a tough time for some people, man. A lot of people suffer tragedy, during this holiday time. I know I had a death in my family as well. And, everybody ain't, festive, so I would say, be mindful of those that may be going through something this holiday season. Excuse me. If you know somebody that may have lost a loved one this year, a lot of times we lose loved ones before the holidays come. Sometimes even years before the holidays come, especially losing a parent or a sibling. But the holidays always remind you of that loss, So I want to send my comfort out and my love out to all those that, may not be quite whole during this holiday season, you know what I'm saying? And I just want to let you know, man, that it's always light at the end of the tunnel, If you got any kind of faith in a higher power or, in God, you know what I'm saying? I would say, you'll see your loved ones again, That's the comfort, that's the hope that we have when we lose a loved one, knowing that we'll see them again, you know what I'm saying? Having said that though, man, God bless everybody, man. I hope that we go into 2024, man, with a renewed sense of purpose and initiative, I hope we go into 2024 with the sense of taking charge. Like, we're going to take charge for our life. We're going to take charge for anything in our life that we're not happy with. We're going to take responsibility for it, and we're going to see to it that a change happens. You know what I'm saying? It's all up to us, man. A lot of times, life is not about what happens to us, but life is more about what we do about the things that happen to us. Yeah, we're going to fall. We're going to always have obstacles or things that come against us, but will we get back up? Will we bounce back? That's the question, you know what I'm saying? So speaking of bouncing back, man, I want to get right into my sports topics, man. Russell Wilson, man. I'm a big fan of Russell Wilson. I appreciate who he is, not only as a football player, but as a human. And a lot of these celebrities, man, we don't really know their real life. We don't really know them, period. A lot of times we act like we know celebrities and we really don't know them. However, I can only go off what I see and I can only go off fruit. I think it's a scripture. I think Jesus said, you will know a tree by its fruit. People always talk about we shouldn't judge others, but we do judge people. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't judge them as humans, but you can judge the fruit that they bear. You can judge the results that their life shows. And he's very good fruit. He got a good family. He's a good football player. And I just think that I gotta kind of a little gripe with how Russell Wilson has been treated by the media the past couple of seasons. And I think the reason is he's perceived to be like a soft person, a nice person. I can relate to that a little bit because I try to be very nice as well. And a lot of times when you're nice, people will take your kindness for weakness. So because like a lot of people in the media, a lot of former teammates of his, they feel like he's soft, so they can just kind of take all kind of shots at him. And he's been taking a lot of shots, especially since he landed in Denver. Now, if you don't know, Russell Wilson came to Denver with like a $200-something million contract with like 150 or something like that guaranteed money, and he didn't have a real good season last year at all. Let me give you a little bit more background of why I like Russell Wilson too. I've been watching Russell Wilson since he was a quarterback, and I believe it was North Carolina State University. He played good, but he came on my radar when he transferred to Wisconsin. He played his last year eligibility at Wisconsin, and I'm a big Michigan fan. I watched the Big Ten. I'm a Michigan alum. You feel me? I'm always shout out Michigan, but they played Michigan. I believe they played Michigan that year. I'm not sure, but I know Russ played with Wisconsin, and I believe it was the Rose Bowl. He played in some bowl game, but I watched him his whole senior year. and he got drafted in one of the later rounds in the NFL draft. I think it was the third or fourth round. But here's why I think Russ was so dope. The Seattle Seahawks drafted him, but remember, the year they drafted Russell Wilson, they signed a brand new quarterback. I forget his name. I should have looked it up. But they had a new quarterback in Seattle, and they gave this quarterback not a huge contract, but they gave the quarterback a substantial contract. Yeah, I might put it in my notes. But there was a quarterback already in place when Russell Wilson was a rookie. He did so well in training camp and in preseason. I forget which game, but at some point early in the season, they named Russell Wilson the starter, and he never looked back. He ended up winning 2 Super Bowls, won 1 Super Bowl. Should have won 2 Super Bowls if Pete Carroll had just gave Marshawn Lynch the ball, right, against New England. But he been in 2 Super Bowls, won 1, could have won 2. Played well for several years, been to the Pro Bowl many times. So he pretty much earned that contract in Denver. But it's just like, it seems like everyone was taking shots at him because he's a nice guy. And he didn't have his best season last year, but he wasn't as bad as like everybody like made it seem. And this year in particular, he'd been playing well, in my opinion. You know, he was among the league leaders in touchdowns, touchdown to interception ratio. They went on, I believe, a 6 or 7 game winning streak. You know, Russ has been doing pretty good. And then they had that big blow up with Sean Payton, the head coach of the Denver Broncos, with Sean Payton like cussed him out on the sidelines. And if you watch the game, because I'm a Detroit guy, they were playing the Detroit Lions. Russell Wilson didn't do anything wrong in that particular sequence where he got cussed out. If anything, the coaches did bad, but he just cussed him out on national TV in front of everybody. And Russ sat there and took it. Now, Russ is better than me. I would have barked back at him. I would have barked right back at him, you know, but I don't know the details what they were arguing about. But I would have let him know, like, man, you got the wrong one. You better get about my face, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, it came out yesterday that they're benching Russell Wilson for the rest of the season. Now, mind you, the Denver Broncos are still in the playoff hunt. It's crazy. You're still in the playoff hunt. You got a Super Bowl quarterback that's been playing good all season, and you bench him, and it's crazy. Come to find out, you know, there's conflicting reports about whether or not the Broncos wanted him to renegotiate his contract. They said back in October they threatened him that they were going to bench him if he didn't restructure his contract to get less money. They came out and denied that. They said that the talks that Denver did, they came out and denied it. They said the talks they had with him in October has nothing to do with him being benched now. It's crazy, man. And I just think that, you know, shout out to guys like Dez Bryant. And Dez Bryant is a football player who I don't always agree with. But if you go on Twitter, Dez Bryant really had Russell Wilson's back, which is crazy because a lot of times these athletes don't, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, so Russell Wilson is getting a bad deal out there in Denver because he won't redo his contract. And, you know, he's making, you know, I think 150 or something like that guaranteed anyway. So he can leave, man, and go help a team that, you know, he can pick a situation that's good for him because he got his money now. So he can take a contract, might be a little bit less than value to go to the right situation. So shout out to Russell Wilson, man, you know what I'm saying? Speaking of NFL, man, how about them Detroit Lions? You know what I'm saying? The Lions won the NFC North. I don't think we've won, I think it's been 30 years since the Lions won the division. You know what I'm saying? I was like in middle school back then when they won the division 30 years ago. So shout out to the Lions, man. The city is going crazy. The city's going crazy. You know what I'm saying? I got a few concerns about our defense. Our defense got to improve for real, man. Aaron Glenn, our defensive coordinator, has been getting a lot of heat, but we got to do better defensively. That's what I'm worried about going into the playoffs. So in the NFC, you got the Eagles who kind of struggling, Dallas who kind of struggling. The 49ers look real good, but they didn't look so good against Baltimore. So we'll see how it goes in the NFC, man. I'm still rooting for the Lions, man. You know what I'm saying? Detroit, we got loyal fans. Even when the Lions was losing, they always filled up Ford Field, the football stadium. You know what I'm saying? So Detroit got some good fans. And speaking of good fans in Detroit, I don't know what's going on with my Pistons, man. I am a diehard Piston fan. I should have worn my Pistons hat again today. But the Pistons are my favorite team in all sports. Basketball is my favorite sport. So it's breaking my heart for us to set the record. We set the record prior to last night. We set the record for 27 losses in a row. That's the most losses by any basketball team, NBA team ever. Then we lost last night. Now last night, you know, yesterday was my daughter's birthday, so I didn't watch the Pistons game. I normally watch every Pistons game, but I didn't watch the one last night. So we're out at dinner, and I looked at my phone and saw that the Pistons were up by 20 points at the half against Boston, which is crazy, but I was happy because I thought maybe we'll snap this losing streak and win this game. Maybe it won't be 28 in a row. A lot of times, good teams will lose to bad teams because they just wasn't ready. They just kind of underestimated them. So I thought, good. They call that a trap game in sports. So I'm thinking, man, maybe this is a trap game, and maybe the Pistons gonna go ahead and pull it out. Man, by the time I got home, man, I looked at the score, and we had lost in overtime to the Celtics, man. So that's 28 in a row. Now, 27 in a row is the longest NBA losing streak ever over one season. But 28 in a row is the longest losing streak over 2 seasons. You know what I'm saying? So now we're going to set that record. We already tied that record, and we play against Toronto tomorrow. So if we lose that game against Toronto, then that'll be like the all-time record for the most losses, period, in a row, period. And I think that's over any sport. I think that's including the NHL, MLB, I don't know, man. Football, it's just terrible, man. Shout out to the Pistons. Hope they get it together. We got good talent. We got Cade Cunningham, who's a stud. Jalen Duren. Ivy's good. But, these are all young players. So young players have ups and downs, man. So, I don't know, man. Monty Williams, the Pistons coach, is the highest paid coach in the league. So, I don't know how you can have a team lose all those games in a row. I know personally, here in Atlanta, I like the Atlanta Hawks too. We got Sadiq Bey down here in Atlanta. Last season, I think it hurt us to trade Sadiq Bey. We gave up Sadiq Bey to get James Wiseman. And James Wiseman, shout out to James Wiseman, but he just hasn't been playing up to expectations, and we could really use Sadiq Bey back. It's a lot of moves. I think the GM in Detroit, Troy Weaver, kind of didn't do right, man. But I ain't gonna get into that, man. Shout out to the Pistons, man. Hopefully the Pistons come back, man. Detroit, we got some loyal fans. And speaking of loyalty in Detroit, man, I want to talk about Eminem, man. And Eminem just keeps taking shots. Eminem seems to take the most shots from people, and it's like it's not deserved. This whole Dr. Umar appearing on Joe Budden Podcast, this is Eminem. I want to get into that a little bit, man, because I got some thoughts. All right, man. So Eminem took some more shots in the media. And again, it seems like Eminem is an easy target. We live in a very racially charged up society where it's like it's black against white all over again, and of course it's always been race issues in this country, but growing up it didn't seem this bad, man. I don't know if it's the wokeness or what it is, man, but it seemed like division is getting stronger and stronger, and race is one of those ones. So anyway, Dr. Umar, if you don't know who that is, you could look him up. You probably know who that is already, but Dr. Umar was on Joe Budden's podcast, one of the most popular podcasts in the culture right now. Was on, and they're talking about, I didn't listen to the whole podcast, but they're talking about, I guess, racial stuff, I know Dr. Umar, for example, he's against interracial dating, period. I think it was a little bit funny. One of the co-hosts of the Joe Budden podcast, Dr. Umar asked him if he was dating outside his race, and he said he was, and he just tore into him, you know what I'm saying? And they were loving that on Twitter. But anyway, at some point the conversation came to Eminem, and Dr. Umar said that Eminem couldn't be the greatest rapper, or couldn't even be in the conversation because he's white, and a white person can't be considered good at anything black. And I think that's just a stupid argument, man. It's just dumb. You know what I'm saying? First of all, I've never heard Eminem disrespect the culture, disrespect rap culture. If anything, he's done the opposite. But when it comes to the greatest rapper, I think that you can't really say one particular rapper is the greatest of all time because it's about opinion. I think that there's a group of rappers, maybe 10 to 15 rappers, that you can put in that conversation of the greatest of all time. You can mention one out of this group and not sound crazy saying that they're the greatest of all time. Of course, you get the Jay-Z, Nas, Tupac, Biggie, KRS-One, LL Cool J, Rakim, Jadakiss even, Lil Wayne. Eminem is also in that conversation. So Eminem is in one of the GOAT conversations, man. But it just speaks to how much of a clickbait this can be, because if you put Eminem in any kind of title, even with these clips, if I put Eminem in the title, it's going to get more views. But I think that's fine if you're speaking good of somebody. But what I don't like in society and culture is that when people use folks for views and talk bad about them for views. You know what I mean? That's the definition of clickbait, man. But yeah, I don't agree with that, man. I think that Eminem is in that conversation. And I'm a little bit biased because I'm from Detroit. And you got to understand Detroit, man. This is one of the reasons why, too, why I hate the fact that Eminem doesn't get the respect he deserves in Detroit, man. He just doesn't. He just don't, man. Very, very much disrespected. But I remember a time when Detroit rap was an afterthought. Nobody represented Detroit. And shout out to those like Awesome Dre. I think he had one of the first major record deals out of Detroit. But really, it wasn't nobody out of Detroit in the rap scene. You had Motown, Anita Baker, shout out to them. But for hip hop, we were nowhere on the map. And I remember Eminem representing Detroit to the fullest and kind of like let the world know that we had dope MCs, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'll always be a little bit biased towards Eminem for that, because I remember when Detroit rap wasn't in thought at all. And now the fact that like the whole world is loving Detroit rap is crazy. We came a long way. But I think Eminem is one of the greatest, man. Is he number one? I don't know, but you can definitely make an argument he's in the top 5. You can make a good argument he's in the top 5, man, and not sound crazy. Lyrically, he's a monster. Commercially, he's done well. Culture, he's affected culture. So shout out to Eminem, man. But I think that a lot of this stuff going on is just feeding into the whole race war. So if you can say something about somebody's race, and whether they're black or white or Hispanic, if you can create that conversation, you're going to get a lot of clicks. You're going to get a lot of traction on your post if you can make it about race. You go to any blog, man. Go to any blog, urban blog, and like just read the comments. Anytime it's like a person that's white or a white against black or anything, the comments just like they'll make anything about race, and these blogs and these podcasts, they feed on that because they know it's going to create controversy. They're going to comment back and forth. And meanwhile, their podcast is getting all these views and they can go get sponsorship dollars, man. I think that it's just crazy how this race war is really stirring up a lot of foolishness in media, man. So I think that whole thing with Dr. Umar and Eminem was kind of foolish, man. But shout out to everybody. Shout out to Dr. Umar. Shout out to Eminem, whatever. But I think it's crazy, man. But speaking of people going against each other, I do want to make a public statement about what's going on in Palestine and Israel. Again, that's another divisive thing going on, man. I think that a lot of us don't know enough about what's going on because we're not over there. We're going off of stories that people are telling and reports on the news. But what we do know is that a lot of innocent lives have been lost on both sides. And I don't think you got to take a side to stand against killing the children. I pray that comes to a stop immediately. I don't care what the conflict is, man. Hurting innocent people, innocent children in particular is not cool. And I know that, like, I think some of the Israel side is saying, well, Hamas is a terrorist organization and they're using Palestinians as a human shield. I don't care what the situation is, man. I call for a ceasefire, and I'm not taking nobody's side, but I think that should stop. And I pray that the war stops and a solution is found. And I know some of these issues have been going on for hundreds of years. I get that, but I'm not cool with people dying. And I think that you don't got to take a side in the war. You don't got to take a side in the conflict to say that the killing should stop, especially the killing of innocent children and women. And it's just not cool. And I don't got to take a side. I don't got to be on nobody's side, but I can say that there should be a ceasefire and that killing should stop. And the United States, I do think we got to take a closer look at our role in the whole thing, because we shouldn't be complicit with a side either. And I know that the U.S. government sends a lot of money all over the world, sends a lot of aid all over the world for all kind of causes. And I think that we as citizens need to really look into what our government is funding, and hold our politicians accountable. Now, having said that, we should use our voices, but we should be educated. A lot of times people just regurgitate what somebody else said instead of looking into stuff for themselves. Do your own research, and don't just read something on Twitter. read the sources for the thing on Twitter and read the sources for the source, you know. But I think we should look into our government, hold our government accountable as U.S. citizens on what we support. But personally, I'm not taking a side in that conflict. I just pray and hope it stops, and I'm just demanding with my voice that the war stop and the killing stops. Period. That's just how I feel about it, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm all about love, man, and unity and peace, and I just can't stand conflict, man. You know, I want us to all get along. I want to shed light to the world, and I want to be a light. You feel me? All right, man, so I'm running out of storage on my phone, so I'm going to wrap this up today, man. Look, if anybody out there, man, understands how the cloud works with an iPhone, it makes no sense to me that I could pay for a whole terabyte on the cloud, but yet all my pictures and videos stay on my phone and it's synced to the cloud, but it still take up storage. If I'm paying for the cloud, man, there should be no storage on my phone used up. Put everything on the cloud, and if I need it, I can pull it back. Seems real simple, right? But I haven't been able to figure out this cloud thing for a couple years, and I'm about on my wit's end. So if anybody out there, man, hit me up any comments or email me. Let me know if you can figure out, if you know how the cloud works. I don't know how the cloud works, man. But anyway, man, yeah, man, we are in a real divisive society. We see it. We see, you know, the race war, but also it's a gender war going on, a gender war in society as a whole, but especially in the Black community. It's like men are against women and women are against men. It's double standards going on. You know, it's like the women hate the men and the men hate the women. I remember I was talking about the whole Keke Palmer thing with her child's father, how they got into it and how they, you know, were going back and forth, and all the men defended the dude, all the women defended Keke Palmer. This was back before the domestic abuse allegations came out. And even with those allegations, all we got are allegations and screenshots of a video that we still have never seen at all. So I wouldn't even make no judgments on that particular instance, whether he abused her or not, because all we got is screenshots of a video, and that could look anyway. I want to see the actual video. But yeah, it's like all the women are siding with her, all the men are siding with him, and it's just like, it's like a gender war going on, man. I'm gonna speak more about all this stuff, man. The whole Jonathan Majors thing. I'm gonna do a whole year-end review. Maybe tomorrow, probably tomorrow or Sunday. I'll do a whole year in review, man. The best moments of the year. Like the whole dinner with Jay-Z thing, you know. That was a big topic I want to talk about. I'm going to discuss all the end of the year stuff, man, in the next couple of days. My favorite albums, my favorite movies of the year, my favorite moments of the year, and give some general encouragement going into the next year. So yeah, man, I want you to know I love you. I got your back, man. You may be going through some hard times, but remember, tough times don't last, but tough people do. It gets greater later. You know what I'm saying? You may be down and out. You may have lost your job. Folks may have turned their back on you, man. It's a lot of people out there hurting. I just want you to know, man, you're not alone and you can make it. Keep fighting, man. You know what I'm saying? We're going to take initiative and we're going to get through this together, man. You know what I'm saying? You can follow me at Brian Onrea on all social media, man. Follow me. You can hit me up, man. I got your back, man. It's going to be all right. We're going to make it. You know what I'm saying? We're going to make it, man. If you're watching this on YouTube, put a comment underneath. Let me know what you think about it, man. Like, subscribe to the channel. If you're on Spotify, follow Apple Podcasts, wherever you are, man. Just follow. Stay connected. We're going to get through all this together, man. You know what I'm saying? Nothing but positive energy over here, man. I got your back. You will win. I will win. We'll win together. And that's the Onrea Initiative for today. Let's go.